Essentially, the mindfulness aspect of this is just a check-in point. Now we're going to go to the more activizing aspects of the system. Which is a gratitude reflection. You can basically focus your mind state on things that you're grateful for during the day. One of the easiest tools to do this is just to keep a gratitude journal. As corny as it sounds, I've used it and it's pretty cool. You can just write down things you're grateful for. You don't have to write it down if that's not your thing, but this is just one way to do it. Just visualize it or think about it. For me, I'm very grateful for my little unique dogs here. I wasn't a big Pokemon guy. I don't know much about the Pokemon, but people tell me these guys look like Pikachu. So I guess I'm collecting real life Pokemon. I'm just grateful for the companionship of these little guys. They're great little guys. That's one thing I like to focus on. Right? Whatever's around you. I'm just going to take a minute now, and you can too, to just focus on something that you're grateful for. You know, this could be anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes depending on your morning routine and what you need. You could ironically be grateful to be alive. This place can quickly remind you of that. As beautiful as it is. So after the mindfulness meditation and the gratitude reflection through your journal or whatever tool you want to use, it could just be your mind state, your visualization. The third thing you want to do is just remind yourself what you're here for, right? Your purpose, if you haven't written one, I know that's kind of corny to write or difficult. You know, what is your life's mission? Or, you know, what is your goals to get there? Right? It could be as easy as my goal right now is to follow correct process for 180 days straight. I don't care if I make money or not. I just want to see how many times I follow correct process. We do have a sheet for that, like whether you followed your rule or not, right? If you guys want that, you can DM me. I've given it to you, but if you want me to remind you what it is, it's the weekly check. Okay, so you know, that is something that's going to take a while if you haven't written it down to focus for yourself, and it'll change. For me, you know, putting in the work and skill and the sacrifice for over 9 years to cultivate this system and the psychology to be able to execute it live and on real money, and to have the courage to quit a job that was more stable than this allegedly, and to come out here and to do this live and to share it with the few that are here, because I'm not the greatest marketer, is worth it to me. I value the freedom. You know, that's one of my higher goals. One of my highest values, right? So, you know, once you can look at that, if it's not already written or reflected upon, right? You want to go to the next step here. And since I don't have a cue card, just give me a minute while I'm walking here to remind myself what it is. Okay, so what you want to do next is you want to start to get inspired and act. Like, everything is starting to become from an observatory state to an activizing state, right? We want to be inspired. So this is a good place for you to read inspiring quotes from great traders or just personal affirmations that you've written. I've shared a bunch that with you guys that are, related to money, a lot of it, because that is what we are looking at and dealing with, is our relation to money. I mean, that's why we don't follow our rules. It's your relationship to money. That's why your paper trading is amazing, and then when you start to do your first or second or third or fourth or fifth account, it's just not as good, because you're breaking huge rules that you wouldn't necessarily do under paper trading, because FOMO is not the same when you don't have any money, etc. So, the more money I have, the more giving I can be and helpful I can be. That's one great affirmation to use for money, because it constitutes a lot of negative associations we have with it. I don't care who issues it. That's not my problem. They also do things to the air that isn't something that I want, but I have to breathe it. So, I can't necessarily control everything externally at all, but I can control the way that I perceive it. And then that will actually, through the law of least effort, change the physical quicker than if you were just using willpower alone. Because willpower alone and knowing what to do, knowledge plus willpower, is not enough to execute this strategy. You got to have that missing link. Those are intangible qualities. Grit, guts, fortitude. This performance routine will help you get there, okay? So going back on that, now once you've done that, you can then listen to 2, because this is only a performance routine, no more than 2, and honestly no less than 2. You could go more than 2, a couple more, if you have the time and get up early enough, right? Of those audio tracks that I've shared with you about trader psychology. Start with the consistent profitability one, and then pick one you're having an issue with. It could be letting your winners run, thinking in probabilities, the one associated with how you deal with losses and risk management. It reprograms your subconscious through the binaural beats and the relaxation of the left and the right hemispheres with these good NLPs, right? Like, small losses equal trading success. I'm very happy when that is like when you have a losing day and you file your system and take a loss, like the trade that I'm in right now. If it's a loss, I will, in my system on the psychology portion, fill in the winner that I had over the weekend, thinking in probabilities. I don't care about one trade, right? Then I'm going to write down on this new trade, yes, it was a loss, but what did I learn from it? Well, do this performance routine before you just jump in. Even if you, in the overnight session, have a plan, things can change in the morning, right? The intraday bias was pretty reversal bearish, etc., right? And all kinds of things that you can do to, anchor yourself with that qualitative aspect of the journal to help you on days where you don't have a winner, because it's not about winners and losers, it's about following correct process, right? Built into the edge is losers, because we don't know the future, 100%. Anyone who's speculating is not thinking in terms of expectancy, probabilities, and doesn't understand the law of large numbers or how those greatest poker players and traders trade and think. This is what we're teaching. It's not easy to do. You will bring in your biases, you will bring in your beliefs, you will bring in your knowing. I don't know if we're going to get an overshoot and have a downtrend day. I'm imagining that we're going to have a neutral day that overshoots to both hours of the first 4 or 5 hour opening range, because the larger time frame bias is bullish despite us overextended in the short term on that zone that I wrote for resistance. Right? So you know what to do, then you execute it better. That's all. Because it's principles to profit or you die. It's principles to profit or you die. Okay, so once you've listened to the audio programming, right, then we want to go towards the belief repatterning exercise that I've shared with you about, specifically geared towards trading, right? And this is the one aspect of the system that you can actually use multiple times during the day. So the belief repatterning is taking beliefs like I'm stuck in my trading, or I'm always afraid to do the right thing when I execute, right? So the one where you're maybe afraid in your trading to do the right thing is like, you have to use this thing called, right? Forgiveness. Essentially what we're doing is we're forgiving the uncomfortable feeling and then linking it to the counterintuitive positive thing we want to do. So I forgive myself for believing that I need to feel afraid to fade a good support resistance zone when I know they work day in and day out following my daily call plan. Okay? And then it's permission, right? You forgive yourself, and then you give your permission to have the new belief associated with the pain. I give myself permission to stop feeling afraid and to feel confidence instead. Right? And then you give yourself the choice to do that, because that's the part of the resistance that your subconscious is having. I can either, right? The choice is an either or framework. I can either continue to feel afraid, or I can, choose to feel confident, right? And I'm doing this right now as I'm sitting through an uncertain area in this trade that I gave, right? Which the location could have been better if I waited for the back of the zone per the system it says it should be.